Britain's military involvement in Afghanistan has just come to an end, completing a conflict that lasted 13 years. In that time, thousands of soldiers put their lives on the line. Hundreds of them died. Now, reporters called for more support for the veterans who've suffered psychologically. On Sunday, the last of our troops packed up Camp Bastion and left Helmand province. The Commons Defence Committee report says as the campaign fades into memory, the government shouldn't forget the toll it's taken on those who fought. It says society owes it to our veterans to look after them. Well, one such veteran is Jake Wood, a reservist who fought in Afghanistan in 2007 and has since written a book about the extreme post-traumatic stress that it caused him. Good evening to you, Jake. Tell us what you experienced when you were fighting in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, when I was there, it was in the relatively early days of the build-up in Helmand, and it's what the army would term a very kinetic tour. So essentially, there was a lot of shooting. This is in 2007. So the first 3 months of the tour, I was based on a hilltop. I was a heavy machine gunner, and I fired thousands of rounds. At the second half of the tour, I was in the Sangin Valley, and I was doing foot patrols out of there, and it's that part of the tour where we started losing people. Yeah.
And very difficult to deal with, especially after you came back.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I was a reservist, so the problem was not going out on tour. For me as a reservist, the problem was coming back home. Because
you're expected to go back to your normal job.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a few weeks leave, and then all of a sudden I found myself sitting at a desk in Canary Wharf, surrounded by people who, through no fault of their own, hadn't the faintest idea what I'd been doing or seeing. And as a reservist, that can be extremely isolating.
I know you struggled to come to terms that you would hear noises and it would take you straight back to Afghanistan. Yeah. You also struggled to get compensation. Eventually you were helped by solicitors who worked for free, effectively. Yeah. But because of that, do you think there is enough help for people in particular who are suffering from PTSD after fighting?
Well, I think it's important to make the distinction between the psychiatric help I got from the army, which was very, very good, and the experience I had with a body called the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme. And they're the body who are responsible for providing war pensions, essentially, once you're medically discharged from the armed forces for a physical or mental injury. These are the people who are meant to financially provide for you after you've lost your livelihood. I lost my civilian career and my military career, because of PTSD, but it took almost 2.5 years for my war pension, to be processed. From start to finish, and originally they were just going to offer me, a single lump sum payment of £9,000. And this is after losing my careers, and I'd just be expected to go on the dole.
You've since written a book about it. How are things for you now? Are things looking better than they were?
Well, thanks to my lawyers, who didn't actually sue the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme, but they worked, within the AFCS's framework of procedures. I can, that extra level of stress has gone now. I can afford to pay the bills now. I can support myself. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. But the PTSD has not gone away, and I'm not expecting it to either. I've had almost 4 years of extremely good psychiatric treatment, but it has not been a magic wand, and so the government does bear a responsibility under the military covenant, which is now law, to look after these guys and girls after they have essentially given everything short of their actual lives.
Jake, thank you very much indeed for coming and sharing your experiences.
No, thank you.